Good morning to you all. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, second.
Okay. Today is the first session of this course titled Public Accounting and Finance. The subject code is ACM, Accounting Management, fourth year, first semester, and the subject code is 11, and it's a 3 credit subject. And class participants are BBA Accounting Specialization and BBA Finance Specialization, and also BCom, right? Especially. So, course unit. Today we are going to discuss the introduction to the public sector and public financial management. So, it's a very introductory part. Introduction to public sector. That's what we are going to discuss. This subject is offered from the Department of Accountancy and Finance from the Faculty of Management and Commerce, Southeastern University, Sri Lanka. So now we are in the academic year 2019 and 20. So meanwhile, first we look at the course description. Here we can find. So this is the course specifications for the subject. The course title is Public Accounting and Finance. So your subject code, as I said you. So 41113. Right. So this program is offered to uh, BBA Accounting Special and Finance Specialization as well as BCom, and no the profession informations. Right now, here what are the overall aims of this course? The overall aims of this course of study is to provide a comprehensive knowledge and skills to enable the participants, this means our students, right, you, to effectively manage their potential functions as a public sector accountant, right, public sector accountant and financial manager. So we thought in future you may work as a public accountant, or you may join as a public fund manager in a government sector, right? So while we are work there on this post, you should able to understand the basic concept. So right, then we are expecting you to effectively manage the potential function of the public sector, right? So this course explores the institutional and legal frameworks, distinctive characteristics, issues, core principles, modern approaches, and best practices pertaining to public financial management, accounting, and reporting. So, from your first year onwards, not from actually you're from A level commerce stream, from the beginning you are studying about the corporations, uh, profit making companies, right? So all of your thoughts were focused on profit making companies, right, which are established under companies act. You may study about Sri Lanka Accounting Standard, LKAS, International Accounting Standard, consolidation, goodwill, right? So we have studied a lot of things, and management accounting, right? Budgeting, variances. You may study a lot of stuff, even taxation. So now our focus will be totally different. Now uh, we are going to discussing about the company, not companies, uh, government agents, government sector organization like ministries and schools, hospitals, government agents, right? So, for example, uh, Kacheri, and Pradesh Sabha, provincial council, and other government sector organizations. So our focus is totally different for this subject. So they are the theoretical, practical, participatory, and research-based approaches are adopted in the process of teaching learning activities throughout the course of study. So this course seeks to impact on the knowledge, skill, attitude, and mindset of students toward public sector in general, and its accounting and financial management in particular. It enables and motivates students to discharge their duties in public sector career in an active, dynamic, and innovative and result oriented manner. So, as I said earlier, your thoughts from the beginning focusing on private sector, I mean, especially profit making companies. Right now, our views will be totally different because we are going to discuss about the how the public sector mean the especially the government sector, the government sector. When we talk about government sector, it includes many things, no? So cabinet, we are talking about cabinet, constitutions, financial regulations, and government procurement manual, and there are a lot of agent fiscal policy, right? The central bank, uh, the Department of Auditor General, Department of Registrar of Companies. So we are going to discuss a new different concept terminologies in this throughout the course, right? So it's a so you have to be prepared. Now we are going to go for a different mindset. So what are the intended learning outcome of this course? It's called ILO, intended learning objectives or outcomes. So end of this course, so what you are going to learn from this? So first, so knowledge and understanding. To understand the nature, institution, and context of public sector, first you have to understand, so what is government sector, what is public sector. And if you are very difficult to understand, keep in your mind public sector, you can fix it as a government sector, no issue, right? You can replace with your mind as a government sector. So understand the nature, institution, and context of public sector. To explain the various principles of public financial management in the context of new public management, NPM, right? So it's a new concept, and 20, before 2 decades, nobody talk about, almost nobody talk about government sector management, public sector management. Now in last 2 decades, it's a new trend come out from the many researchers all over the world, and they are focusing on how to effectively manage government sector organizations, right? So it's called this kind of thoughts, this kind of thinking is called new public management. It's simply called NPM, new public management. And to understand the legal and institutional framework connected to public uh, financial management. So uh, when you prepare financial accounting, financial statements, so what is the base for that? When you prepare financial statement for companies, so what is the base for you? Anybody else? So which will guide you when you do the when you do the accounts for the companies? So what will guide you? Any students, any answers?
Standards.
Accounting standard, especially Sri Lanka Accounting Standards, Sri Lanka Financial Reporting Standards. Those two are the key which guides you when you're preparing financial statements, when you do make financial decisions, financial management decisions. So that is the institutional framework. That's the legal and institutional framework for preparing accounting. Sri Lanka Accounting Standard, LKAS, and SLFRS. But when you prepare financial statements, accounts, or any other decisions with regards to financial management, you have to refer what? Especially the mainly you have to refer the financial regulations, not Sri Lanka Accounting Standard, not other financial reporting standard, right? So totally they should depends on financial regulations. Have you seen that financial regulations book? So I can show you for your understanding. Right here, financial regulation. So it is published by uh, Ministry of Finance. So better to keep one copy, soft copy from your folder, right? This is the book, right? Financial regulations of the government of the Domestic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. It was published in 1992. Uh, it, and after 1992, there are a lot of amendments on these regulations. Time to time, government will uh, make amendment changes on this, and it will be published in the uh, gazettes, government gazettes, right? So these are the contents. Here you can find estimate of expenditure and revenue, authorities for expenditure, refund, rights, right of, etc., financial management and accountability. So receipt of payment, receipt of money, payment of money, right? So it covers everything, right? It's like accounting standard, government organization, uh, government public sector organization should follow this, right? This is the Bible for them, right? So better to keep one copy, soft copy with you, right? So these are the code, no? Here FR code, FR, people simply say FR. Here FR 623, FR 625, like that, right? So that's what the Bible, the base, how to account for, right? So accountant should relies on this, right? You can find Sinhala medium and as well as Tamil medium. I think the Tamil medium book is not available online. Sinhala medium is there, right? Right, right. So and to describe the process of perspectives and approaches of public sector budgeting. So we are going to discuss about budgeting. Now everybody talk about budget, national budget. So we will spend a significant amount of time to discuss about public sector budgeting and to understand the concept, process, and institutions of accountability, budget execution, assurance in public sector financial management, describe the issues, approaches, modern developments, and practices in public sector management accounting. Everybody of you know about management accounting. Now, in this course unit, we will focus on public sector management accounting, public sector. So you already studied about companies. To describe the issues basis national and international standards and ongoing debates in relation to public sector financial accounting and reporting. So we have accounting standard for companies, no, for private sector, LKAS and SLFRS. Likewise, now many governments all over the world trying to establish accounting standard for government sector, the financial regulation. So as I shown you know, financial regulation. So that's a manual that is applicable only for a particular country. In case of For example, for Sri Lanka. So this financial regulation cannot be applied in India or England or US or New Zealand. So like accounting standard. So IAS, no, IAS, International Accounting Standard, like International Accounting Standard. Now they have introduced a new accounting standard here, public sector accounting standard. We have Sri Lanka Accounting Standard, no, we have SLAS, Sri Lanka Accounting Standard. For public sector, they have introduced new standard, Sri Lanka Public Sector Accounting Standard. Sri Lanka Public Sector Accounting Standard. So, for uh, international Public Sector Accounting Standard, IPSAS, right? So that is focusing on public sectors, and right. So we are going to discuss about international standard and ongoing debate in relation to public sector financial accounting and financial reporting. So most of the time, the government relies on uh, case basis accounting. Government follows most of the time. Government follows cash basis, and so when you do account, when you prepare financial statement, you follow which basis? Cash basis or accrual basis? So what basis you are following in accounting? Any response from students? Are you follow cash basis or accrual basis? Do you follow which one when you prepare financial account? Accrual basis or cash basis? No answer. Don't you know? So these are the basic accounting concepts. Do you when you prepare accounts, are you follow accrual basis or cash basis? Do you follow which one?
Accrual basis.
Accrual basis, but most of the government institutions are following on cash basis. It's totally different, no? Now uh, many public sector accounting standard board and public sector accountants try to apply try to apply accrual basis in as we do normally in company accounts. So that there are debates. Some accountants, some group of researchers, academicians argue in favor of cash basis accounting still, but another group of accountants and researchers argues in favor of accrual based accounting. So these are the debates, right? Why this kind of amendments they want is they want make the government organization as efficient and effective one, which able to compete with private sector organizations. So in our country, not in our country, many public sector organization in the world, especially developing countries, they are ineffective. Most of the time, they are end up with loss rather than making profit. For example, you think about Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lanka Petroleum Corporation, and Ceylon Electricity Board. Many corporations, many government sector institutions end up with losses, right? So why? So to make it efficient one, to make the organization as profit making one, so they wanted to make some improvement in the accounting standards, right? So there are debates how it can be improved. And professional and practical skills, yeah, right. So intellectual skills. So despite public finance and its financial management and recognize the implication of new paradigms, as I said, you know, and now many researchers are try to establish new accounting standards, and they are going to introduce a new rules to the government financial sector management, right? Public sector financial management. So you have studied a lot of stuffs: cash management, inventory management, right? And you have studied a lot of stuffs in under the financial management, accounting, management accounting, ABC costing, absorption costing. And none of these will work out in public sector almost, right? It's a public sector. It's a different one, different world. You have to be a different class to see the world of public sector, right? So that's what we are going to get a basic, a fundamental understanding the government machine, public sector, how the public sector machine works. Explain the legal and institutional framework that govern the public financial management, accountability, and account reporting. So when you look at, when we talk about the public sector institutions, first we have to keep an eye on the constitution of the government, gazette notifications, financial regulations, public procurement manual. Public procurement manual, when a company, not company, when public sector organizations like universities and divisional secretariat, so when they purchase anything, so they have to follow certain rules. So that rules are underlined in the government public procurement manual. So you can find here public procurement manual or guidelines, sorry. So you can find, so this is the guideline you have to follow, right? When the government organization wanted to purchase something, they have to follow this manual. I think it's an older one. It's not ours, right? It's foreign. And you can find from the Treasury website. If you are a public accountant, uh, you have to look at on this website, right? Treasury.gov.lk. It's a website of Ministry of Finance, right? So my best advice: please collect the materials regarding budget, this year budget, right? So you will have uh, an assignment on this budget. So we have to spend significant amount of time on budgeting. We have chapters, many chapters. So in that you may have a group assignment. So better to collect information as much as possible, right? This is the website. You can find that. And explain, right? Explore public budget process, classification, structure, and modern approaches, and thereby being able to evaluate the budget of the government of Sri Lanka. So budget is a very important chapter. You have to collect the materials and informations related to current budget, year budget 2022. So describe the importance, institutions, process, and procedures involved in procurement. Public procurement. That's what I told this one. Public procurement guidelines. This is the public procurement guideline. You can find at Ministry of Finance. So this is the same thing, right? And there are procurement manual we have, right? Supplementary procurement manual. This is the main document. Yes. This is the procurement manual. You have to keep one soft copy of this. If you want, I can send to WhatsApp. So you can find this and financial regulations. You can. And this is supplementary documents. So you can download everything you need. This is old one, and this is a website you want, right? Budget. So it's also very helpful to you, right?
Excuse me, sir. Your screen doesn't show what you're showing, sir.
Can't you see anything?
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Right here. So this is a website. You can collect the data about budget, and this is the procurement manual of the government, and this is the financial regulation. So everything I have sent you through WhatsApp, so you can download and you can refer this. So keep one copy with you, soft copy. No need hard copy. So you keep PDF file. That's enough. And right. Uh, Professional and practical skills. What you to apply and comply with financial regulations. As I told you, no. So financial regulation. Which one? This. This is the financial regulations. So to apply and comply with financial regulation and other statutory provisions when handling public finance, and to prepare, alter, execute, and analyze public sector budget, conduct public sector procurements in compliance with compliance with national procurement guidelines. Yes, I told you, uh, national procurement guidelines. This is yes, national procurement guideline. It is published by National Procurement Agency. This is a procurement guidelines. So you will have one assignment from this also, procurement manual guideline, and you have another assignment on this one, financial regulation and budget. You may have three major assignments. So those three assignments basically depends on these documents. To apply appropriate management accounting reports for decision making in public sector context. Here we are going to discuss some sort of management accounting, right? Here you can find, right, financial reporting, yeah, cost management, cash management, and cost management, and performance measurement and evaluation framework. So these are focusing on the management accounting side of public sector. And to prepare, analyze, and interpret public sector accounts and financial statement in the context of international and Sri Lankan public sector accounting standard. We have another set of accounting standard for public sector, that is called Sri Lankan Public Sector Accounting Standard, and relevant national regulations. In general and transferable skills, students will be able to focus on a particular issue of interest in public sector accounting and financial management and do research. Students will be able to gather data analyze, synthesize budget, accounting and financial data and information in public sector. So you have to have this kind of skills. So what are the topics we are going to discuss? Here, first one, introduction to public sector. First, we have to understand what does it mean, public sector, the government sector organization, in very simple terms. And here, public sector, financial management, and the implications of a new public management, institutional framework for public financial management, a legal framework for public financial management, and budget and budgeting process. Here you see uh, budget is a one chapter with regards to budgeting process, and budget classification, presentation, programming, another unit. Approaches for public budgeting is another unit. Exploring budget of the government of Sri Lanka is another unit. Right. So how many units? One, two, three, four. Almost 4 units, right? Concerning about budget. And financial management accountability framework. So this is about financial regulations, right? We will spend more time. So there will be some adjustment on this hours allocation. We will focus mainly. So this financial management and accountability framework. Most of the accounting service accountant competitive examination for the recruitment of accountant service, uh, they are focusing on this area. So therefore, we will spend little more time on this. And also for public procurement, so we have to spend a big amount of time. So we will get more time on this, on public procurement, handling the variation of the estimate expenditure, uh, budget assurance, cash management, cost management. Right? Sometimes we may uh, give uh, low weightage. Sometimes we may omit, right, these chapters. So based on the availability of time. So our focus highly on public management and accountability framework, procurement, public procurement, and budget. Right? So definitely one question, 20 marks question will be on this chapter 10, and another 20 marks question definitely will be on this chapter, and also another 20 marks question will be comes from uh, budgeting, right? So 60 marks question, standalone question will become there. So another 40 marks questions come up with very introductory part and other things. And also another question you may encounter with this one, Sri Lankan accounting standard, right? Uh, and also this also he may questions exploring financial statement of government of Sri Lanka, right? So we will spend more time on that, right? And we have right, public procurement, handling the variations, budget assurance, cash management, cost management, performance measurement and evaluation framework, uh, budgetary reporting, fiscal management and responsibility, financial reporting in public sector. So basis and issues we will discuss a little more, right? And public sector, Sri Lanka public sector accounting standards. So we will discuss scope, objective and applications, and exploring financial statement of government of Sri Lanka, right? So altogether 45 hours allocated for this course, due to the online courses, no. So we will focus on most important core areas. We are not focusing in all the chapters, all the units. We will focus most important areas that will help you in your career. So teaching methods, I will deliver lectures and team-based learning. Sometime I will give you group assignments and what called uh, group assessment and other things, group assignments and information collections. You may have to visit. You have to visit some government institutions. You have to collect data with regards to the subject matters. I will time to time I will give instructions what are the data you have to collect for your assignments, and field studies and project reports. Sometimes if it is necessary, we do that in independent learning. So I can't teach you everything. So within 45 hours, so we have to uh, search and find. So we have student assessment methods for quizzes and some midterm examination and group projects. And it was scheduled actually by Mr. Nijam, right? So see, he has prepared all the course material and slides. So he has gone to the study leave for PhD program. So that's what I take the subject. And I thank to Mr. Nijam. He has given all the study material. So what he has prepared. So luckily I have that. So I follow that, right? And so I acknowledge first all the slides I'm presenting here. Uh, all of them, most of them are prepared by himself, and meanwhile I have made some minor adjustments, right? So all the credit belongs to Mr. Nijam sir, right? And yeah, so there are some variations in this weightage of assessments. Course notes I will give you. So I am the lecturer in charge for the subject. So these are the references. So if you wish, you can collect and read it. And time to time, I will give you some sort of uh, hand slides. I will give you, so you can. So I will give you some other PDF documents for you for the reading. And course coordinator is myself. I am Seren Mayam Priyat, and the subject coordinator is program coordinator is head of the Department of Accountants and Finance. The head is Dr. Halim. So today, so we have revised in November 2021. So these are about the our course specifications. So if you have anything to ask, we can ask. The time for questions. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, now so I will give. We will start about 11 o'clock. Right now, I'll give you 10 minutes break, and we will start from the new chapter, first chapter, public finance and accounting. Right. So we will meet at 11 o'clock. So be online. Do not left me from the meeting. So I will catch you at 11 o'clock. Okay. Right. Shall we start? Shall we start the session? Right. Shall we start? Can you hear me? Shall we start? Shall we start?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Right. Now we are going to discuss the first unit is introduction to public sector. So here we have the learning outcomes. Upon the completion of this subject, you should be able to first define the term public sector, right? You have to have a clear definition about the public sector. What is public sector? And identify different types of institutions in public sector, right? Identify the different what are the different types of institutions operating under the government sector, and explain the scope of the public sector. Right, what is public sector? As I told you earlier, so normally we say in our terms is the public sector is the government sector. Any organizations coming under the public coming under the government is called public sector. the public sector organizations may be in the form of the ministries, cabinet, parliament, and provincial council, right, President, and the municipal council, and some government agencies like central bank and other institution like corporation, Sri Lanka Petroleum Corporation, and some other boards, national, sorry, Ceylon electricity board, like that, right? So these are, normally we call it as the government organization. So government organization, all government organizations, we call it the public sector, right? Government sector. So in general terms, the public sector consists of governments, right? Consists of governments and all publicly controlled. Publicly means government control. All publicly controlled or publicly funded agencies. Government will give money to run their organizations, right? So consist of governments. Government include what? Central government and provincial government and other local government, so provincial and provincial municipal council, like that. And all publicly controlled, so police, the department of police, department of defense, health, school education, so controlled by the public government. And publicly funded agencies, government give money. So for example, RD, road development authority, so government will give fund, right? And enterprises like state trading corporation, and Sri Lanka Telecom, Mobitel, and what uh, so there are a lot of governments or companies coming under enterprises, and other entities that deliver public programs, goods or services, the road networks given by the government, and the education services, health services are provided by the government, so which are coming under the public sector. So different organizations define the term public sector differently according to the nature of operations. Here, called different organizations that give definition for the term public sector. Most importantly, we concerned will focus on the World Bank, how the World Bank defined the term public sector, how the IMF, International Monetary Fund, defined the term public sector. That's what different organizations define the term public sector differently according to their nature of operations. The operation of IMF is different from the operations of United Nations, and it's different from International Federation of Accountants, right? And International Accounting Standard Board, right? IFA, International Federation of Accountants. Right, please be aware about how such international organizations such as World Bank, IMF, United Nations, and professional bodies like IFAC and IASB define it. We will discuss a little bit detail how the World Bank and IMF has uh, uh, classified and defined the public sector. Now we look at how IMF, International Monetary Fund, defines the public sector. So the public sector, the public corporation, public sector include what? Public corporations and general government. So it has two different types of uh, public sector. So first one, the public corporations, say for example Sri Lanka Petroleum Corporation, and other, so People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, other petroleum. So there are uh, many institutions, and general governments, the central government, the parliament, and provincial council, urban council, municipal council, Pradesh Sabha. So these are the coming under the government. Right. So in GFSM, Government Finance Statistic Manual, right? So time to time, IMF releases some kind of manuals. So most importantly, the Government Finance Statistics Manual, we will discuss in detail in end of this course unit, right? The public sector is comprised, it consists of what? At the broad level, public corporations, it includes public corporations and general government. Since public corporations may be either financial or non-financial, so some public corporations are directly dealing with finance, some are non-finance. Say for example, Sri Lanka Petroleum Corporation, they are not deal with the finance exactly, and the financial sector, most importantly, the bank, Sri Lanka Insurance Corporations, directly deal with finance, and People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, right? Any other regional rural bank, right? And Central Bank of Sri Lanka. So, right? The public sector therefore encompasses three broad economic sectors. So it can be divided into government, financial, and non-financial. So you can find this here. So public sector can be in at broad level. We can divide into two. The general government, right? So general government includes government, central governments, the parliamentary ministries, cabinet, and member of the parliament, right? And state government, a provincial council of eastern province, provincial council for of central province, northern province, southern province, like that. And the local government, like uh, urban council and municipal council, Pradesh Sabha, so like that. So it can be list out under the general government, and it can be, right. The second part of the public sector is public corporations. So public corporation again can be divided into public financial public corporations and non-financial public corporations. So when you look at the non-financial corporation, it includes other government entities like what else? Sri Lanka Telecom, Sri Lankan Airways. So that kind of institution, they are not involving in financial businesses, right? And Sri Lanka State Trading Corporation, STC, right? State Trading Corporation. And financial public corporations like Central Bank of Sri Lanka and People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, right? National Development Bank, like that. So they are providing financial services. So, so either the public corporations can be divided into two, like financial public corporations or non-financial public corporations, or they can be divided into three: financial public corporations, monetary corporations, including the central bank, and non-monetary financial public corporations. And here's general government. So general government. So we normally we say government, RG, no, the government, general government. So general government produces goods and services on non-market basis. They are not worried about market prices. They are not worried about market competition. So we couldn't find that kind of stuffs. So it is not works under the uh, demand supply mechanism. So general government produces goods and services on non-market basis, while the public corporations are created for the purpose of producing goods and services for the market. Here, for non-market basis, for purely government, pure governments, called what general government, you may find, for example, Department of Police, Department of Defense. So these are totally, so Department of Elections, right, and the Department of Legal Services. So these kind of things purely work under the non-market basis. They are not expecting any uh, monetary financial benefit. So, for example, hospitals, right, and schools, government schools, government hospitals, right. So they are the profit. They don't have profit motives. So they are produces goods and services on a non-market basis. Right. The corporations, in other hand, they created for the purpose of producing goods and services. When you look at the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, so so they are running in the market based on their uh, market basis. So they have competition. It has competition. Who is the competitor? Who is the competitor for Ceylon Petroleum Corporation in Sri Lanka? Any answers from you? Who is the competitor? Any answers? Ceylon Petroleum Corporation? IOC, no? IOC, Indian Oil Corporation, company, right? Company or corporation, right? Right. And the other Sri Lankan Airlines is the competitor. All of the uh, other uh, companies, airline companies like Indian Airlines, right? And so there are so many airlines, right? They compete with Sri Lankan Airlines. So they are providing services on market basis. And People's Bank, it's coming under the public corporations. Bank of Ceylon, so Commercial Bank of Ceylon and HNB are the competitors, right? So these are coming under public corporations. The notion of economically significant prices is used for distinguishing between market production and not market production. The general government sector has two parts: all general government units and all non-market non-profit institutions, NPI, that are both controlled and mainly financed by government units. Here, what's mean? All government units mean it's include ministries, ministry secretaries, and other cabinets, parliament. So these are Ministry of Finance. So these are all government units, and Pradesh Sabha, municipal government council, like that, local government, state government, and non-market profit institutions, other corporations, right? So government. So here we can find other institutions. They're providing services on non-market basis, like Department of Health, Department of Education. So sometimes they may charge, but they are purely working on a non-market basis, non-profit institutions. And we'll discuss about public corporations. So public corporations is a legal entity created to produce goods and services for the market. A legal entity, right? Say, for example, Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Bank of Ceylon, and People's Bank, Sri Lanka Telecom. The corporation is a legal entity created to produce goods and services for the market. So it's operate based on market basis, right? The corporations are collectively owned by the shareholders who have the authority to appoint directors responsible for its general management. corporations may be source of profit or other financial gain to its owners. So think about Sri Lankan Airlines, think about People's Bank, Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, CEBs, right? Uh, Ceylon Electricity Board, National Water Board, and National Water Board, right? Water Board. Public enterprises are resident public corporations. Public enterprises are resident public corporations so operating in Sri Lanka. That's called what resident public enterprises. So the term enterprises is different from corporations. We will discuss in forthcoming slides. All right. So public enterprises is different concept. So public enterprises are resident public corporations that are owned and controlled by government units. So now we look at the definition given by the Treasury of Sri Lanka. So Treasury is the department operates under the Ministry of Finance. So Treasury. So how the Treasury defines the public corporations and public enterprise. So as I told you in the previous slide, the public corporation is different from public enterprise. Right? Here public corporations as they defined as the public corporation as any corporations, Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Sri Lanka Insurance Corporations, like that. Corporations, board, electricity board, water board, like that, water, and RDA authorities, any other bodies which was or established by or under any written law other than Companies Act. Here it not include companies. Say for example, Sri Lanka Telecom. It's a company, government-owned company. So corporations not include companies at any written law other than the Companies Act with a capital fully or partly provided by the government by the way of grant, loan, or other form. When you look at the definition for public enterprise or any public corporation, public enterprise as any public corporation, right? Enterprise, a public corporation, board, other body which was or established under any written law, including Companies Act. Here you can find any written law other than Companies Act. Here it includes Companies Act and entities established under the Companies Act, where the government has the controlling interest, right? So it has two parts, no? Central general government and corporations. Here public enterprises comprise the following. First one, commercial corporations, government owned companies. Third one should be three, right? It should be three. Statutory boards, and four, subsidiaries of commercial corporations, government owned companies, and other statutory bodies, right? Subsidiary of this 1, 2, 3, right? So public enterprises. Public enterprises comprise the following. First one, commercial corporations. So these are the organizations established under the special or general act of parliament, so with capital fully or partly provided by the government. So these enterprises are expected to operate on commercial lines and be viable and self-financing. So when you consider the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, this Ceylon CPETCO, no, Ceylon Petroleum Corporation is established by the government to provide uh, to supply a petroleum product, fuels to the country, and the government is not continuously financing for that, right? It's earn, Ceylon Petroleum Corporation earn money and spend for them. If there are any profit, the profit will be transferred to treasury. So commercial corporations, it includes People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon. So these are coming under the commercial corporations. And government owned companies, so this includes entities established and operated under the Companies Ordinance, Companies Act. Established entities established and operated under the Companies Act, in which government has a direct controlling interest by virtue of its shareholding. When you think about, when you look at the Sri Lanka Telecom, it's a company. So Sri Lanka Telecom is operated under the Companies Act. 51% of ownership belongs to the government. The balance 51, balance 49% of the shareholding rest in the public, so people, right, investors. Corporations and government-owned companies converted in terms of the conversion of public corporations or governments on business undertaking into the Public Act number 23 of 1987. So during that period, many government-owned institutions converted into the private sector or semi-government state. So all the process was followed based on this act, the Public Companies Act number. Uh, so the name of the act, conversion of public corporation or government-owned business undertaking into Public Companies Act number 23 of 1987. The third one, so statutory boards. Statutory boards, so organizations established under the special or general act of Parliament, which recurrent and capital expenditure fully or partly provided by way of annual government grants to meet promotional, regulatory, educational, research, and other services. For the statutory board, it includes uh, RDA, Road Development Authority, and Water Board, Ceylon Electricity Board, Paddy Marketing Board. So these are coming under the statutory board. Our people say it's a semi-government, right? Now, subsidiary of these three, subsidiaries of commercial corporations, government-owned companies, and statutory boards. So these are the companies where government has an indirect control through public enterprises. For example, Mobitel. Mobitel is a subsidiary of Sri Lanka Telecom. Sri Lanka Telecom is coming under the second part, the government-owned companies. So these are the things. And the next approach is a World Bank approach, and we will discuss in the next class, right? And any questions up to now? Right. And we will meet the next class.